Andrade and Weili go out and fight, and there was a lot on this fight as far as storylines go because Andrade went into enemy territory, if you will, right? Brazilian champion. She packs up and goes over to China for her first title defense. Not something that a lot of champs would do, and I think that she deserves some credit for that. And in many ways, it was repaying a favor, or at least paying it forward, because don't forget, Rose came over to Brazil in Andrade's backyard to defend the championship, which ultimately Andrade left with the belt. So she pays this forward and she goes over to China and does this. So, I mean, beginning part of the story, but so much has always been made of if somebody could break into the Chinese market for mixed martial arts. You'll hear that dialogue all the time, but it appears to be a very real thing. And the UFC has gone all in. They put up a performance institute in China. Now they got their first Chinese champion. I mean, where's that going to go? I don't know. I can tell you historically where that's gone. I mean, just look at Khabib, by example. Big of a star as Khabib is, much as everybody loves Khabib, and he's got all these followers. Now he's even got political influence. If you were to go back 3 years, that most certainly wasn't the case. If you were even to go back 2 years, that most certainly wasn't the case. So, all I'm saying is when you do have a Russian champion such as Khabib, and now you have a Chinese champion such as Weili, I think that we can expect that only positive things will come from it. You can't be a fight fan, watch that fight, not break down a couple of the X's and O's, which were real simple. Andrade, and I'm only judging a book by its cover, but I think you guys do that too. When somebody walks, I mean, it's one of the reasons we watch the weigh-ins, right? How do they look? Then when you watch as they walk out, I will tell you, Andrade looked as ready and as focused, as mean as I've ever seen her. And sometimes that is an act. I understand. Sometimes you've got to get your body language to then catch up with your mind, so on and so forth. But for me, I thought Andrade looked great, which is relevant because as soon as the fight starts, and this fight goes basically where Andrade wants it, which is right here, fisticuffs. Weili was ready for it. Weili was stronger than Andrade by my eyes. By my eyes, looking at their stature, who is physical. I've never said those words before of any opponent that Jessica's ever been in there with where I've gone, hey, I think that opponent was stronger than her. But Weili looked it. She looked a little bit bigger than her. I'd be curious as to what they weighed on actual fight day. She looked bigger. And don't forget, at 115 pounds, if you have 4 or 5 pounds on your opponent, which isn't enough that we would normally even talk about, 4 or 5 pounds at 115 pounds can represent 3% body weight. You can have a 3% body weight size advantage. So when these two freight trains come at each other, Weili was just getting off, and Andrade was throwing, but it wasn't doing the same, right? She wasn't quite in her range, and Weili hurt her, and Andrade tried to recover. She tried to come back, and Weili grabbed her and starts throwing the knees and starts punching. All of a sudden, Andrade goes down. Never really seen a competition like that involves Andrade. I mean, she's built for the distance. She is made for long, drawn out. The harder it gets, she's going to keep on getting tough for herself. That's what happened in the fight, though. The whole thing was only 42 seconds long. I am doing my best to give you guys a recap that is longer than the fight itself. But the story of the fight was still very real. The emotion that went through, not only that arena in front of her hometown crowd, but herself, it was very real. This was a young lady who had a dream, rose all the way to the top, took out a very, very respected champion, and did it in 42 seconds. So where do we go from here? Does she get to have the Khabib effect? Does she get to have some of these great things that some other fighters that broke in and kind of capped off a market within their home area have seen before? Probably. Weili and she's probably not going anywhere anytime soon. When I look at who she already has in her rear, this represents, by the way, guys, for anybody that's new to her, she had won 19 fights in a row. Going into this fight. She's now won 20 fights in a row. She's only got one blemish, and I don't even know where it is. Somewhere early on, she lost a fight. It wasn't in the last 20. Pretty impressive. Who are you going to put her against? There's a lot of new blood in there. Tatiana Suarez is always the right answer. I suspect that Tatiana will get that fight eventually. Rose is never a bad option. Joanna want to be the champion again. is never a bad. There's a lot of good options, but there's also a lot of people that are sitting at home just like I had to do, pull their head back, open their eyes up real big, and go, "Whoa, this girl's a problem."